It's casual, not formal. It's hosted by Rory, Penland, and Renee in tow. It's time to start the show. 1, 2, 3, go!
Okay, welcome to another episode of It's Casual. Let's go ahead and bring Renee up. Renee Yaworsky.
Why, hello.
How are you?
I'm doing wonderfully. Wunderbar, as we would say.
Wunderbar.
Wunderbar.
I've heard that before.
I don't know. Someone taught me that. I'm not on screen because I don't want to annoy anyone. I'm eating dinner. It was one of those days, just back. So I'm actually munching down right now. But
I want to see you eat dinner.
No, I don't think you do. I think you do, but then when it actually happens, it's going to be a disappointment. Trust me.
But
anyway,
do you not have a hair hat on? You're in like a robe with fuzzy slippers.
It's like a bunch of It's like PJs. It's like sunburn shit. It's horrible. It's an awful sight. But I am here. I'm ready to go. We have Norm Lewis. Come on.
Yes.
We have Norm Lewis, and he came on. Rory was out for a minute. He came on, and his voice was this like beautiful, golden, rich voice, and I was like, oh,
like butter.
It was like butter, and I was like, damn, the one time I'm not on fucking screen, you know. But yes, we do show. We go blue here. Anyways,
yes, anything's good. This is not for kids. This year.
This is not for kids. No, definitely not. And we have people already showing up. I see Diane is here.
Good.
We have a lot of Fred is here. That means we're gonna have some fantastic comments coming in.
Fred is always fun.
We love him.
I was telling you just before we went broadcast, we went live, that the one thing that I have the fondest memory of about Norm is his laugh. He has this boisterous, infectious, wonderful laugh, and I'm hoping to get him to do it during the show, because we try to have fun with our guests on the show, but I'm hoping you guys get to hear it because it's wonderful. It's just wonderful.
I'm hoping to hear it because already, I just met him, but he has a beautiful chuckle, and I'm gathering that there's a laugh that's different.
The chuckle is the stairway up to that laugh.
Oh.
Again, I'm hoping the chuckle is nice, but the laugh is the best.
It's very easy on the ears. It's very easy on the ears. I mean, I'm very excited about this guest, if you can tell.
Yeah, me
welcome
too.
Welcome to everybody who's here. We really love our live audience. I was telling Norm before we came on that the guests are going to be asking questions. They're very engaged, and they're a very friendly crew. We have a very friendly fan base, and we're very proud of them. And that's what makes Cosmos great is the fans. We love them.
Yeah, I never would have invited them on It's Casual that I did in Tampa with the live call-ins, because they were just nasty, rude to my guests. This is much nicer, much better.
People should go back. Where can they see those on YouTube? Because they're actually on YouTube.
Do we have any videos of anybody that wanted to be on the show, or?
Oh, holy! No. I did not see that. But apparently, no. Okay. But if there is one, I will go check if you direct me to where they might have sent it.
Oh, okay. They might have sent it to your Facebook.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Well, why don't you talk a little bit about talk for about 30 seconds about who you are, and then I will be right back.
Well, actually, before you do that, because I don't want to confuse you with, two videos going back to back, let's run a little clip of Norm that we have.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Of him singing before we bring him up.
Oh, that's a wonderful
so
thing.
That they can see just how powerful this guy's voice is. And,
yes.
He's a Broadway star.
And I just saw right now Jonathan Seven was saying, checked him out earlier. Great voice. I mean, so people have been.
I put a bunch of clips on the ad today on the poster today that I sent
right. That's right.
Those are just Facebook links. This was a little something I edited together, like three clips that I thought were really cool, and I put them on there to show you his range.
All right, let's check it out. Here's Norm Lewis, everybody.
I ain't afraid about hell till that time arrive. Never worry long as well. Never one to strive to be good, to be bad. What the hell? I was glad I was alive. Oh, I and nothing's plenty for me. I got my guy, I got my song, got him no day long, got my song. Slowly, gently, night unfurls its splendor. Grasp it, sense it, tremulous and tender. Turn your face away from the garish light of day to the power of the music that I write. The power of the music of the night.
That's great, sir.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
We must crush him completely, so like done before him, this Jesus must die for the sake of the nation. This Jesus must die, must die, must die. This Jesus must die. So like done before him, this Jesus must die.
All right.
Jesus Christ Superstar, and of course, I believe that was Caiaphas. He'll correct me if it's Caiaphas.
That's correct.
One of the best musicals I think of all time, rock opera. But he's so powerful.
His version was very interesting too. And
I
we're
want
gonna
to see the
We're going to talk
full.
about that.
I want to see the full thing. Everybody, as you can see, is saying what a
That
big
was the
voice
live
he
TV
has.
broadcast that they did on 2018, I think it was. They did a live broadcast of the show on TV, just like they did a couple of years before that with
Who played
Sound of
Jesus?
Music.
Who played Jesus?
John Legend.
I saw this live.
Yes.
It was John. Yes. Oh
Yes.
gosh, I have so much I want to talk to about this. That is fantastic. Look, I hate to break this, but we do have to run the fan video real quick before we bring Norm on, and then we'll.
Okay.
It did come through, and
All right.
I didn't have time to look at it, so if it's weird, I just apologize. We do have.
They usually are.
We do have some weird fans, and I just apologize because I'm looking at it right now, and it looks like it might be a interesting situation. All right, here we go, guys.
My name is Shugor. I come from Romania. I was frozen in the mountain in Romania for 400 years. Then they thawed me out. So now I am here in America. I want to come on your show. I saw you on the social media. So please contact me at my Facebook place.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a
the
little
norm
weird.
around here.
I don't know if I can believe him, though. I'm not sure that that's really what happened. I feel like there's some more to that backstory.
I got a feeling we're going to be seeing a lot of him. Yeah.
Okay, that's true.
Well,
okay, everybody.
I'm sorry to make him follow that, but let's bring up Norm
Let's
Lewis.
bring up Norm.
He's been waiting long enough.
Here he is.
There he is.
Hello.
And how are you, sir? So good to see you again.
I'm good. I'm good. Great to see you as well. And to meet everybody over at this amazing podcast. But, I would, instead of you saying that these are weird fans, I would say they're very eclectic.
That's nice. That's
He was
nice.
very-
thing to say.
Igor or Igor, whatever the hell his name was. He was
Shugor.
Chugor. He was very eclectic. I just maybe suggest he get some braces or something, but that's all.
There you go. There you go. It's something we can look into for him. You know,
Exactly.
maybe a little hairstyle,
A GoFundMe
maybe some
would be a good thing for him. Yeah.
better clothes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Don't look so medieval. You know.
Right.
So
Well, listen,
I saw
thank
you.
you for yes,
Oh,
yes,
sorry.
yes. Go for it.
Go ahead.
No, I was
Go
going to say
ahead.
thank you for showing those clips. Those, it brought back memories.
We're going to talk about those memories. I hope one by one. That's what I like to do. I like to bring back your good memories of what you've
Right.
done.
Exactly.
I last saw you just before the pandemic. Actually, I mean, like
Yeah.
months before. I was that
Right.
December before
Right.
up in New York. You had just come back from doing a show in Canada, I believe, and you had the mustache, which was different. Just the mustache.
Right.
So that was a surprise when I think I saw you it wasn't in front of the Met, but the other museum there. That I saw you
we met
The
at
Frick. The Frick.
Yes.
But we walked
Yeah.
down there. We walked down to the Met and the
Right.
Guggenheim and had lunch together. That was a lot of fun. Andrea was on the show last week, Andrea Powell,
Oh, cool.
and she
That's
said to say
amazing.
hi.
Yes. Hello, Andrea. Yes.
And we all knew each other at Lake City Community College, which is now Gateway College.
Mm-hmm.
And Andrea and our mentor, Paul Ferguson, went off to Hawaii and then to the Carolinas.
Yeah.
And I went off to Central Florida and then to China for 15 years.
Right.
Go figure.
As one does. That's the natural trajectory from Lake City Community College.
I was saying this to somebody. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Eddie Brill, might have been Billy Vera, but I was saying you got to get away from the black hole of Florida. There, it will suck you back into it. But you have a lot of family here in Florida, and you love Florida.
I do.
But
I do.
you left Florida
Mm-hmm.
and went off to New York City.
Yeah, I decided to try my hat in this industry because I'm a singer first. I said musical theater would probably be better for me than trying to just become an actor. And that I'm glad I made that decision because I was able to study while I was here. And I call it learn while you earn. And so I was able to get jobs and also learn while I was in those jobs and learn from different people. But I also took classes while I lived in New York.
There you go. And again, your Broadway work led to appearances on many TV shows and movies and things. So it worked. That worked out for you. It was a good. You rolled the dice. You rolled the dice. You took your chances, and it paid off. Very good. 11. So I was looking up different shows that it's easy when I get an actor who's just done TV and movies because then I could just go to IMDb and go, okay, this year he did this year, she did this year.
Right.
But when you're looking into Broadway shows, they don't always list the date. When you do.
Oh, okay. I can help you with that
we're going to go down the list here. And again, the earliest thing I could find for you was Who's the Who Tommy.
It was the Who's with an apostrophe. Yes, the Who's Tommy. Yes.
That was from the early 90s, around 92, 93.
93, yeah. And what happened basically, it was serendipitous or fate for me because I was a late bloomer and I moved to New York after I'd worked in advertising for a while, and I took a chance, and I was around 26 years old. So I didn't come straight from college. I went, I took a little time before then. And what I said to myself is that I want to be on Broadway before I'm 30. So I wouldn't have quit, but I just wanted to at least shoot for that goal. And I made it just in time. I got there April 22nd of 1993. And that was 2 months before I turned 30. My birthday's June 2nd.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that was it, Tommy?
Tommy was my first Broadway show. I stayed in that show for a year, and then I got Miss Saigon up in Toronto, April of 1994, and was there in Toronto for 6 months, and then I came straight back to New York and did that show for 2 years.
You did Miss Saigon in New York?
I did Miss Saigon on Broadway for 2 years. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. And then again, we bumped forward to the next thing I could find was 2008, 2009 Little Mermaid. You played King Triton.
Well, there were a couple other shows before then. So
there's a gap there.
Yeah, there's a gap. So I did Sideshow in 1997, which was because okay. So let me back up. So Miss Saigon was from 1994 to the beginning of 1997. Yes, the beginning of 1997. And then I had a little time off, and I did a Sideshow for about 3 or 4 months, and then that was until 1998. From there, I ended up doing a show off Broadway called A New Brain, and at the same time, I was doing All My Children that summer. So I did that for about six weeks. So I'm trying to think of the next show. Wow,
I saw that credit, yeah.
I did off Broadway. I did Captain's Courageous in 1998. Then I started doing some regional things. I did the first in 1999. I had my very first Sweeney Todd at the Signature Theater down in Arlington, Virginia. That was a Sondheim year for me because right after that, I ended up doing Bobby and Company at the Helen Hayes Theater in Nyack. And some more TV things. After that, I ended up getting into The Wild Party with Toni Collette and Mandy Patinkin. That was in 2000. It's. I mean, we'll continue talking about my trajectory, but I can tell you some other stuff. So, what was the thing you had at 2000?
Little Mermaid, 2008, 2009.
Okay, so let's go back before that.
Before you go there, is there any interesting stories you'd like to share about your experiences in those other shows that you were talking about?
Let's see. Well, Miss Saigon, being in that show for about 2 years, I created a family, and with the company because most of the people were a lot of the originals were still there, and it's Miss Saigon just had this wonderful essence about it because the people were so wonderfully talented, and the company that I work for, the Cameron McIntosh company, took care of us. So I loved being there. It was sad to leave, but it was time to move on. When I did Sideshow, hey, how are you? When I did
Hello.
Here
Sideshow,
she is.
I got on camera for Norm. I got on camera. I'm in my PJs. I'm in my PJs.
And I love
don't care.
that. We want
I love
Thank you.
it.
I'm
Thank you
here.
so much.
I didn't want to interrupt you, Norm, but we do have a question about what it was like working with Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Well, it was interesting. I mean, I didn't necessarily work specifically for him, but what he did do was, because it was such a hyped up situation where I was the first African American to play the role on Broadway. I stand on Robert Guillaume's shoulders. He did it in Los Angeles, but he brought a lot of attention to it. So he decided to come over and see what this was all about, who this guy Lewis was. And so it was great to, sing with him while he played the piano. Great to talk with him. Great to just, be in his presence because he's such a force. My very first show when I got to New York, even though it was a regional production, we rehearsed in New York, was Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And, I've been in Jesus Christ Superstar and then Phantom. So I've had a lot of Andrew Lloyd Webber in my life.
Well, he's very fond of you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very happy to be a part of his family and the legacy of that.
I have a question for you in regards to Sweeney Todd. Were you the first African-American actor to play Sweeney Todd?
That's a great question. I'm not sure. I know that when I was asked to do it at Signature, it was 1999. And when they said that they wanted to see me for the show, I immediately thought, okay, they're going to go a little long in the tooth for Anthony, but sure, I'll go out for it. But they said Sweeney Todd, and I said, oh, okay. Wow. All right. So when I got it, I had to do a lot of digging and soul searching to, play this murderer and, because I don't have experience in that. And so,
well, we hope so.
Yeah, exactly. There were a few people like want to murder, but no, I actually, I loved delving into this character and trying to find his truth. And I always said that I didn't want to be liked necessarily, but I wanted to be understood. And that's where I took that character. But I had a great time. I've done it now 3 times and I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the Phantom happened, was it like they came to you with the idea, or did you audition and they just went, hey, wouldn't it be great? I mean, how did that come about? What happened there?
It's interesting. In 1994 was the very first time I ever saw it while I was in Toronto doing Miss Saigon. And this music was just so lush and beautiful. And I just remember saying to myself that day, I want to be in that show. I would love to play Phantom, but I definitely want to be in that show. I thought because of the prestige of who this character was and, the play, that it would take being Robert Guillaume, it would take being a star to do the role. But I kept saying, I want to do it. I want to do it. I put it out there. And finally, when I would get interviewed, people would ask me, what is your dream role? Kept saying Phantom. For 20 years, I kept saying Phantom of the Opera, Phantom of the Opera, Phantom of the Opera. And I just remember being on a panel in DC with Renee Fleming and a lot of different people from across this industry. And someone asked me that question. They started asking me about, minorities in this business, but that particular question. And on this panel were the people who are in charge of hiring for Phantom of the Opera. So I made a little quip by saying, yeah, Phantom of the Opera would be my favorite thing to do. And I looked down and I said, mm-hmm. And they know me. We know each other. But it was a wink and a nod. And I would say a few months later, I ended up getting a call because my friend Hugh Pinero, who's like a brother to me, we've done shows together. He was the Phantom at the time, and he decided not to renew his contract. So that opened up that door. And because of that, I got a chance to audition. And I auditioned with so many different people. And I remember being on that stage in front of Harold Prince and a few other creatives. And I sang the song. But before I went out on the stage, I talk about this a lot. I definitely felt the souls of people living and also passed on. Paul Robeson, Andre Shields, people who I use this phrase a lot, stand on the shoulders of. I heard those voices say, go for it. Whether I got the job or not, I did my best. And that's all I can do. And I left it out on the stage. And next thing I know, I got the show.
So it was a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay. So let's go back to Little Mermaid.
Okay.
You end up getting the role of King Triton, Ariel's
King
father.
Triton. Yeah. How about that, huh?
Ariel.
Exactly.
That's the cartoon version.
Exactly.
I do cartoons. That's the thing. So, what can you tell us about that particular show?
Well, I'll take you to the beginning. So that was another situation where what I loved about it was the fact that Disney was being very diverse in what they wanted as, a cast for this show. And they had me come in along with people who are Caucasian and Asian and all this stuff to play this role. They put enough confidence in us to see if we could do it. And they hired me to do the role. And I was very, very excited and very honored to be a part of this mega hit, right? Because this is the movie that brought those musicals back to this amazing genre.
Yes.
So I went out there, did my thing. And funny enough, I just remember I was doing Les Miserables at the time on Broadway. And it was, once I got the role, I decided, okay, let me just start kind of working out a little bit. Not, too heavy, not steroids or anything, but just going like 3 days a week and try to exercise and get into shape and stuff. And that's all I did because I knew the costume was going to be very tight. And so what they had when I went in initially, they had a bodice that came up to here. And they drew on a chest, and they had like I would wear a netting of my skin tone, and it was just kind of carved out, like a chest here, some muscles here, and all that stuff. So that was
airbrush the muscles.
Airbrush the muscles, the whole thing. So I had a few months before we actually started. Once we did another fitting, about 3 months later, they saw that I was in shape, quote unquote. So they decided to get rid of this bodice. It looked like a corset. They decided to get rid of that and create with the mesh abs and chest and arms and all this stuff. So I got into more shape. It's because I figured, okay, that's even tighter than what I thought. We get to Denver, our tryout city, and it's just all mesh, and it just looks horrible under the lights. It looked terrible. And so they said, would you mind going topless? So I kind of got more into shape. My guy said, okay, sure. Why not? And luckily I got into like an incredible shape that I just, it was kind of just this thing that I just did. It wasn't for any other purpose, but just to try to fit into a costume. But I actually became the costume.
Yeah, you actually, I want to show the pictures. I'm going to get Renee, if she could, to show the pictures that we have of you, because that picture is in there. Okay. And there's also a picture of us doing a show together early on in 1982.
Awesome.
Grease. We did Grease together.
Yes. Duty. Oh, look at that guy. Look how
Your name was Duty, yes.
Yes.
And Duty and Rump were the two Burger Palace boys that got taken out of the movie. They became a character, I think, called Putsy or Potsy or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes, there's the Burger Palace boys in all their glory in 1982 in Lake City, Florida. next up, there it is.
Yeah.
You are cut there. I mean,
I got into pretty good shape. Yeah, I was very proud of that.
Get to the chopper, Ariel.
Yes, and I actually sounded when you did the Ariel, I was like, that was my thing. I actually Ariel, so I had to I tried to sound like the movie.
There you go. And there's you with Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Yeah. That was my first night.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And there's Caiaphas.
Now, the reason behind the braids, I'll give you a reason. I had just finished doing a show called Once on This Island, so I had long hair, and
Yes.
they were going through all these things to do with the hair and costumes and stuff, and they wanted to cut my hair, but I had to keep the hair for another project right after this. So I said, could you please think of something different? And this woman came up with this idea, and she put that's my hair, but then there was the white. She put in strands of white to make it pop a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks absolutely amazing.
Awesome.
Look, I'm a huge fan of Jesus Christ Superstar. Of course, I saw this live. It's just I'm freaking out right now. Everybody in the audience probably watched this live as well. It was a huge hit. Everybody I know, we all watched it. What was it like working with John Legend, number one? And also, what was the stress level like? You know that you're live, it's a big, big deal. What was that like for you, and any stories that you might want to share?
Yeah, it was many different levels to this question. So John Legend is a beast. He's a monster. He had just come back from a tour in Asia, so he was lagged, but yet he didn't show it. He just went right into rehearsal, and we did our thing. And then he was prepared. He was ready, and the cast had been rehearsing for about 2 months before all of this. They wanted to get every detail in place. And what I loved about it, our director, David Laveau, and I'm forgetting the cinematographer, but they were at the rehearsal, at the rehearsal studio. They were directing it as a play and also taking it from a camera aspect as well. So everything that we did was, okay, is that the right angle for this moment? This is the right angle for that moment. So they would be prepared once we did it live. And everything just it was such an amalgam of such a combustion of the right things that just had a perfect storm. The audience were the mass of people that Jesus was talking to. So they were basically part of the show. The director knew every moment that we needed to be in, they knew what angle they wanted to show me in this way and that way. And, Jesus and, Mary, it was just such a great thing. We did the show the day before. April 1st was Easter that year, and it was going to show live, and it did show live. Yes. But what we did is we shot the show live or filmed it the day before, just in case anything happened. If someone got sick or there was a glitch in whatever, they could pop that in. So we have 2 versions of that show.
Oh, wow. I'll tell you, the camera work on that was amazing. I mean, like you said, the cameras popped to the right angle every time. I mean, you could be singing one line of a song, and then boom, the camera would pop right to the next shot, and on the next line, you'd be walking towards the camera. It was amazing. It was really, you could see they did a lot of work preparing it.
I was very proud of them and proud to be a part of that project. I think we won 5 or 6 Emmys for this particular production. Yeah.
There's no wonder. That's you in a very awkward moment on Gotham.
Yes. Oh my God.
I was actually watching the show and didn't know that you were on Gotham. You were on a couple of times, right?
No, just once. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this was the awkward scene where you're talking to a couple of characters, and they're talking about how great they are in bed, and you're like, oh, all right. You're the deputy mayor.
And their brother and sister.
Correct. And you're the mayor. You're the deputy mayor. You're the acting mayor. The mayor's disappeared on the show.
Right.
So, and I think I have another TV. Yeah, and that's from Scandal.
Yeah.
You played
That's
Senator.
what most people know me for. Like, someone asked me one day, "You're famous, right?" And I said, "No." I said, I think I'm known. I think people kind of go, "I know you," but famous? No, I'm not famous. But yeah, this is what propelled me into another stratosphere when it comes to recognition, because I was Kerry Washington's love interest on a great show called Scandal. It was one of those things where, oh, okay, who's this guy? And because I look, for all my life, people have told me I look like a young Bill Cosby. I would get a lot of reviews. It's like that Bill Cosby looking guy, playing this.
Jeez.
Yeah.
What a thing to be saddled with.
I know. In the beginning, it was okay, but look at us.
That's us in front of the Met.
Yes.
I had to name drop there and show that picture.
Absolutely.
Like the
Yes.
grease. But yeah, that's us in front of the Met. And you were telling me that you really liked Dr. English.
Yeah. Yeah, I had just come back from shooting an episode of Mrs. America, and I played a character that was a real character. I can't think of his name now, but I had just, if anyone saw Mrs. America, the miniseries, I was on that show for an episode
with a mustache.
With a mustache, yeah.
And you shared this picture with me on that trip.
Yeah, who's that
Mr. Yeah, you and Mr. Showbiz.
Yeah, Hugh something. I can't think of his last name though.
Huge Jackman.
Yeah. No, he's a sweetheart. What a fantastic guy. I've gotten to know him. And
that's what I gathered from seeing him on social media. He just seems like a really nice guy.
Yeah.
Even when he's going back and forth with Ryan Reynolds,
Yeah, totally. Yes.
So I think that's the last one. So thank you, Renee.
Thank you, Renee.
So, are there any questions from the audience that we need to address?
Well, they've basically been weighing in. Everyone's shocked, and I mean, this is like amazing right now. So everyone's just freaking out. It's just he's used to it. Norm, when you walk
my
down
God,
the street,
Bill Cosby.
He doesn't look anything like Bill Cosby to me at all. I don't know why who would say he doesn't.
Well, I do have, I mean, I'm a little thicker right now, but I mean, in my younger days, his younger days, like people would say that I look a little bit, and I see it. There's a nose thing, and not now, thank God. But but back in the day, it used to be a compliment. So it's all good. It's all good.
We do have a question about what's your next project? Like, what's in the works right now? What do you?
Yeah, right now I just got back from Tokyo. I did some concerts there. I mainly do concerts. That's kind of my bread and butter. And I have some concerts coming up in the rest of the summer, about 3 or 4 of those. And then I am shooting, actually, I'm going to be shooting a TV show called Rise Up. The people who wrote Frozen, it's the married couple, Robert Lopez and Kristen Lopez. They wrote Frozen, Let It Go, and then they also wrote the Frozen 2, and also Book of Mormon and Avenue Q. They're just prolific writers. I'm kind of in this musical world where it's I'm a sorcerer in a game, and I come to life, and so it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm starting to shoot that in the next couple of weeks. I will be going on tour with a play. This will be my second play I've ever done. It's a soldier story. Or it's called when it's on stage, it's called A Soldier's Play. When it's on film, it's a soldier story. And I will be traveling around the United States for about 6 months doing that show.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw that. I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Someone asked about if you could tell some friendship stories. I guess they saw Hugh Jackman and they want to know if you have any other friendship stories or any other cool stories.
Well, Hugh and I are friends mostly at events. Like I've never been to his house or anything, and I've never called him. But when we see each other at events, it's really kind of cool because he'll give me a hug, and I feel like I'm important. But I'm friends with people like Audra McDonald, who I did Porgy and Bess with on Broadway, and she's such a force of nature. Brian Stokes Mitchell, who is another powerhouse on Broadway. I've admired him for many, many years. He was on Trapper John MD, and then I saw him sing on the show Merv Griffin's show years ago. And then he's a big Broadway star as well. So I'm glad to be able to, say that I'm one of his colleagues and friends. Vanessa Williams and I have become friends. Miss America, and on Ugly Betty, she played. I forgot what that role was called, but she's so talented and so amazing. And I always say to people that she plays the best bitches I've ever seen in my life, but she's the complete opposite of that. She's
play
such
the
a
best
body.
bitches.
Yeah, she's an amazing bitch, and but she's the complete opposite of that because.
Yeah,
she is such a family person, and she's so giving. We work together on a corporation or an institution called Black Theater United, where we are trying to bring diversity, equity, and inclusion into our industry. And so she and I, LaShance, Audra McDonald, like I said, Brian Stokes Mitchell, and 19 of us. I can't name everybody right now, but 19 of us have created this organization to be some sort of, we call ourselves the NAACP of theater. And so we've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes. And actually, before you called, I was on, we're doing a gala at October 3rd, and I'm on the fundraising gala committee. So I've been calling people and asking for donations and things like that.
Well, and you do a lot of charity events.
Yeah.
As does Jackman. So
yeah.
Naturally, you guys are going to hug each other when you see each other or something like that. What else do you get? Okay. I think Andrea is on here as a Facebook user.
Oh, hey.
She says, tell the story you told me and Paul and Mom about taking the forever freeze in Phantom, having to crouch forever before you appear.
All right. We have to give context to this because, okay,
this sounds good.
Yeah. Well, when we were at Lake City Community College, I had Paul Ferguson, who we love, Dr. Paul Ferguson, who is Andrea's husband, and our mentor. Like so many, he was so just giving to all of us and uplifting and encouraging the whole thing. And he made me in a particular freeze. I was the mountain. I was the peak of the mountain in this one thing, this oral interpretation. So I had to hold my hands up. I'm out of screen right now, but I had to hold my hands up like that for about 15 minutes or so. I was like, oh, I hate you, Paul. Can I please put my arms down? And it was like, no, you're an actor. Keep them up. All right, whatever. So 40 years later, however long, now I'm in Phantom of the Opera, and I'm in the Angel right before they end the first act. And in that Angel, it literally is just hanging. But I'm a big guy, and I'm in this tiny little hole. So I'm in a crouch position, and there's one little section where I can put my leg in and stretch it out. Well, my other leg is dying, so I kind of switch it, and I have to put it in that hole. So I'm just trying to be in a freeze in this Angel so it doesn't swing, so it doesn't give it away that I'm in the the Angel before I come out of that Angel. So anyway,
no, the chandelier's coming down.
Exactly. So that's that moment. That's that moment.
So how long do you think you had to hold that freeze?
Literally about 15 minutes, because they were singing, and if you know the show, they were singing oh God, what's that duet that they have? I can't even think of it now. I'll think of it later, but it's the lovers are singing the duet while they're on top of the roof, and I'm listening to this as the Phantom, but I gotta be quiet so they don't hear me, and I gotta be careful that the audience doesn't see me. So it's just crazy. Yeah.
We saw you doing a little song from Porgy and Bess.
Uh-huh.
That was 2012.
2012, right? Yeah, that was the Tonys that year. That was the Tony performance.
Correct.
Yeah.
That was the best footage I could find. A lot of times when I see a clip of you, especially as Javert in Les Miserables, is it Les Miserables?
If you want to be fancy, yes, it's Les Miserables.
What did you guys call it?
We got Les Mis. I mean,
Les Mis.
Les Mis. As my sister said.
Oh yeah, Les Miserables. I'm gonna go see that Les Miserables show.
Yeah.
They're all miserable in the whole damn thing.
Exactly.
It's hard to find footage that's not just like somebody's mobile phone in the crowd taking a pic, taking a video of you.
Right.
Speaking of which, I couldn't find anything on Dracula the Musical, but I saw that you were in that.
Well, the only thing about that is that it's I did the compilation album. I was not in the show. So yeah, so I was basically just the voice on the compilation album. They did a cast album of people who were in the show, and then they did a compilation album of people where they wanted to have it sung in a way that's not in the show, if that makes sense. It's kind of like when they do it with pop stars, you know what I mean? Even though we're
Kind of
not
a strange way, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the pandemic hit in 2020.
Yeah.
What do you call a pandemic?
Oh, some bullshit. That's what I call it.
No, I saw in a clip you said I call it a pandemic, which I thought was really really funny.
It's the pandemic. It just, it just wiped us out, and it just. I will say though, I think there's been a reset. And the fact that people are hopefully, even though, well, we can go down this road of political stuff, but I think it's at least made people aware of each other, and whether they be good, bad, or indifferent. But I hope that it made people pay more attention to climate change, to health, to all kinds of other things. And so, it definitely, I was scared to leave the house for about 2 months. Luckily, I had food in the house and I could cook without leaving my apartment. But then I had to go out and go grocery shopping like 2 months afterwards. And I found a tiny grocery store that was 24 hours. And I would go shopping at 1:30 in the morning and come back to the place. Yeah. And wipe down everything, Yeah.
Smart. Yeah. I went Chinese when the pandemic first hit. I was only going out once a week to do provision runs. And all my stuff I would do on like a Tuesday,
Right.
I'd be good for a week.
And it was interesting because we didn't know at the time about the whole mask thing and the droplets. So I was always wearing gloves no matter where I was going. And I wore my gloves and all that stuff. And then when they said the droplets happened, I was gloved out and I was masked out. Like it was crazy. But
yeah, I remember buying 2 boxes of those rubber, proctologist gloves.
Exactly.
And running around it with those on. And then I was like, wait a minute. All I got to do is wash my hands when I come home. What am I?
Exactly.
These look silly. And then people were taking them off and dropping them in the
was
dirty diapers. Some people will drop dirty diapers in a parking lot. I hate that.
Yeah, that's stupid. Yeah.
There's a garbage can right over there. It's within eyesight.
Right. It's about awareness. It really is. It really is about awareness.
You're back to Broadway.
Can I jump in for a second?
Yeah.
Wait, can I jump in? I wanted to know about your acting journey, about your acting technique, what schools of thought resonate with you, and what is your basic philosophy on, like, what do you like about being an actor? What do you tell younger actors as they're trying to come up right now?
Well, people give me that question all the time. Thank you for that, Renee. I just say basically find your passion for this, because you have to have passion. Find a sense of who you are, whether that be from a spiritual standpoint or, just some sort of sport thing or some sort of hobby that you have. Find a sense of who you are, because you're going to get a lot of resistance. This business of show, people are going to tell you that you're too tall, too fat, too short, can't sing loud enough, can't sing high enough, can't sing low enough, things like that. When in essence, it's just about a look in a lot of cases. I remember a friend of mine got turned down for a gig because he was a good-looking guy and did the beginning of the show out of town. But because they hired a woman to replace the original woman, and she was like 5 inches taller, they had to get rid of him. And so they had to find someone that could be compatible. So this industry is so fickle and all that. So I have a sense of who Norm is. Norm can sing, Norm can act, and Norm can dance a little, but that's not all of who Norm is. Norm is a full, realized person who has these attributes. So I'm just, I would just tell them, get a sense of that. Also study get your skills intact. Take acting classes, take dance classes, take singing lessons, study people wherever you are, study people on the bus, in the malls, in the subway, wherever you live, study them. And try to, Rory's fantastic at mimicking people because he studies people. Like he's so good at that. And so that's one thing you can take from what Rory does if you want to, be the best that you can in this industry, because it's all about recreating a character, and you can pull from those resources. Read a lot of books. Someone actually gave me the best advice one time. I started it in the beginning, and I've kind of waned off a little bit. But if you can read a book a month and a play a week, that will help you, because you'll understand the craft of doing those things. And actually the book that you might read might turn into a movie or a TV show or a musical or whatever the case may be. So it's about storytelling and understanding how to do that.
See, now that was the best moment of the show. You see why I love her? Do you see why I love this girl that's on the show?
She's amazing. Yes.
She is. She really is. And she lives in Syracuse.
Ah, nice. Nice.
Thank you, Renee.
I aim to please, even in my PJs.
I was going to ask you about Chicken and Biscuits.
Yeah, that was my first play on Broadway. I just did that.
I think we got a band in Atlanta down this way called Chicken and Biscuits. Anyway.
Are you sorry? Really?
I think so.
That would be a great name, right? The show was written by oh my God, I'm so terrible. I'm forgetting names right now because I wasn't prepared. But the show was written by someone who was a performer and decided, you know what, I want to write a show, and that's what he did. Again, this is telling the young people, you never know which direction you're going to go into. So this guy decided to write a show and had never done it before, and it became a Broadway show, and now it's going around regionally. But he wrote this show about family life. He wrote it about the family that he belongs to. It's about a church, about a funeral, about relationships with sisters and redemption and things like that. It does have stereotypes and archetypes in the show, but I see it. It's not just one of those like Chitlin Circuit shows. Chitlin Circuit shows are great. I'm not downing them. It's for a specific audience, but this show has essence of that. But I would attribute it to more of a Neil Simon show, because it's told through the eyes of a Black family, but it can relate with everybody. We had people of the Jewish faith, of the Catholic faith, of just Muslim faith that said, "Oh my God, this is my story. I know exactly what these people are going through." So, and that's what theater's all about.
I love that answer, Norm. I wanted to ask you, it seems like maybe your family was very encouraging that you went into the arts. Is that true? Or along the way, when you make a decision like what you made to be an artist, I mean, I'm going to make my money as an artist. I mean, that's a very brave and a controversial thing for a lot of families and for friends. Did you have the support at home and also with your buddies and stuff like that? And what would you tell people who are really coming up against that, where their parents want them to go into something else?
That's a great question. Thank you again. It's interesting. My dad and mom were still alive when I decided to make this transition from the business, because I worked in advertising for a newspaper for about 5 years,
right?
And then I transitioned into this. And so when I decided to make that transition, my dad was like, "Yeah, go for it, Mom." Secretly, my mom didn't say anything. She just kind of stayed quiet. My dad passed away within that time frame. And I had to go back and help with dissolving his companies and things that he was running. And while I was there helping my mom with all of that, she told me, she's like, "I'm not sure if I want you to be in this industry," because she was very, nervous and scared that I would fail, or if I would get hurt in some way. But I told Mom, I said, "I've got to do it." And luckily, I did make a mark, and she was able to see my first Broadway show, The Who's Tommy. She was there on opening night, and then a year later she passed away. So At least she was there, and they became my angels. But I just would say to kind of piggyback on your question, just stay true to who you are. As if you do have if your parents are against it, try to do the best you can in school, get those grades, and then if you can do the extracurricular stuff, then I would say try to go see some plays. Join the theater troupe that's in your high school, or community theater, something that doesn't take much away from your schooling, because you never know. When you get to college, you might say, no, this is not for me. And I still have, my grades intact and I can still move on and do whatever I need to do. But if you do have the passion for it, I say go for it, because it is your life. It's your life.
Wow, that is so powerful. I wonder, then my next question, which is going to just be like a trailer to that, is how have you noticed people treating you differently, or are you thinking about yourself differently as you're calling it popularity? I think most of us would call it fame. Do you think differently about yourself now that you've had the exterior accolades, and have people that you knew from childhood and stuff, do they treat you differently?
Yes, to all of that. So I would say when I first got here, obviously I was nervous, and I was, here I am, someone who didn't study. I was just blessed to have a gift, and then I could, grow on top of that. But I was going up against people who went to Juilliard or, Carnegie Mellon University or these other great institutions. So they know more than I do, and they've had more experience. But I was lucky enough to still be in the room, have the confidence, and let's see, how do I go into this? I don't want to make it too long because I don't want to bore everybody, but I worked.
We're not bored.
My first job was on a cruise ship. I actually got asked to perform on a cruise while I was in a contest in Orlando, Florida. And I was still working in advertising. And this guy came up to me after the contest and said, "Hey, I like what you do. I need someone like you on my cruise ship. Would you would you be interested?" And I had to think about it. I went to my supervisor, and she's like, "Look, you don't want to be 85 years old saying coulda, woulda, shoulda." All right, jump to. I did take the job. I was in a show that with people who were professionals. They had been on Broadway or had been working as professional actors. And this is my first job. So I was intimidated by that. I worked for 4 months. Everybody in the show had to leave because they had been on for about a year. I still had an option to stay on, but I decided not to. I was going to go back to school, study for 2 years, and then move to New York. And one of the guys I was intimidated by, because he was one of those guys, he said, "You need to go to New York." And I said, "Well, why?" He said, "Because you have the talent." And I told him about, why I was a little apprehensive. And he said, "Don't worry about those people. They know more than you. That's okay. They know more vocabulary, but you can sing. Go there and do it." And he gave me some of the best advice that I always share with when I do master classes. He said, those people behind the desk, when you walk in, the director, the producer, all those people, they have a problem. And what you do when you walk in is says, "Hi, I'm your answer." And that's all you do. And that's all you do. And if you are not their answer that day, go and answer other people's problems. Go to every audition. And that's what I did. Unless they specifically asked for blonde hair, blue eyes, and big hands, I went into the room, big hands, but I went into that room and I would say, "Hey, I can do it. I can do it." No matter what it was. And I think because I showed up, I think that was why I was just very persistent.
And that's the way to be up there. It is.
Yeah.
TV. Anything stand out as in your TV work that you really enjoyed, that you got to work with somebody you really wanted to work with?
Well, my first really big TV gig was All My Children. So I did that show. I was contracted for 6 months, and then I stayed on as a recurring character for about 2 years. And I got to work with Erica Kane. I got to work with Susan Lucci, the queen. The queen of soap operas, and she was wonderful, and I had a great time, and it was a great learning experience because it was every day we had new material, so you had to learn your lines every day, new stuff. Right. Then I think the next gig I did was a show called Strong Medicine, and I was directed by Carl Weathers. And if you don't know who Carl Weathers is, I know
who Carl Weathers is,
but he's Apollo Creed in the Rocky series.
Right.
And what was interesting?
Jackson,
yes. If you know anything about television is very small acting. You don't need to do much, and I didn't know that, or I had never really had that experience. Because
you don't have to project.
Yeah, you don't have to project as much, and so I just remember being on set. I played a character where my wife was going through postpartum depression, excuse me, and she was, left the baby in the car and all this stuff. And so I get called from the police and also the hospital. And I show up and I'm kind of like, where's my wife? Where's my child? And I do my scene. And it's, for me, I think I'm going to win an Academy or, an Emmy at least. But he pulls me aside and he says, come here, brother, let me talk to you for a second. And we go to the side and he said, you do a lot of theater, right? And I said, yes, sir. Yeah. And he said, well, you have a big voice. You don't have to do as much as you do on this. And I said, oh, okay. So he said, just bring it down. Just bring your voice down. I said, okay. So basically he wanted me to talk like this, even though I was really stressed out about my wife and my baby. He was like, I want you to talk like they can read it in your eyes. And I learned a lot from that moment, because I actually know now how to do that. And it was a great learning moment. And I'm glad that he took the time to do that, because, he could have just said, well, this Norm Lewis is not working out, get rid of him. But
less is more.
Yeah.
Awesome. The Five Bloods.
The Five Bloods. Whoa. Wow. So I had met Spike Lee years ago, because he came to see Porgy and Bess a lot and some other things that I've been in. So I met him. We weren't great friends, but I met him. Then I got hired to do his show on Netflix called She's Gotta Have It, based on his film. And they did a modern version of it. That's a series. So I got hired to do that. Months later, he calls me. He gets my number and he's like, hey, Norm, what are you doing? All I see is Spike Lee on the phone. I'm like, oh. So I'm like, I'm not doing anything. Why? He's like, I'm going to send you a script. I want you to read it and we'll talk about it tomorrow. Click. Okay.
Nice talking to you. Nice talking to you too.
Yeah. And this was like about 10 or 11 at night. So I'm like, okay, so let me read the script. So I read the script. Then the next day I called and I said, I think the script's great. I didn't get offered anything. He just wanted me to read the script. So I think the script's great. So yeah, it's a great story. Good luck. And then he says, okay, I want to talk to you in person. So let's have dinner. So I came to Brooklyn and had dinner with him. We talked for about half an hour and we talked about the characters and the story. And he said, I want you to play Eddie. And inside I'm jumping up and down like a little girl, but outside I'm like, sure, I would be very interested in that. And so I got, a couple of weeks after that, I get shipped out to Thailand, and we start shooting. And here I am with this great cast of people I've admired for many years. And then new people, Jonathan Majors, who is he's blown up. He played the son in the movie. And then Chadwick Boseman. And I'm thinking, what is my life right now? Like, these are just amazing. And so it was the biggest budgeted sort of production I've been a part of. But to work with the great Spike Lee and Delroy Lindo and Isaiah Whitlock and Clark Peters, and it was just amazing. And the dynamic that you saw on film was our dynamic off stage as well. And so we got along really, really well.
Cool.
And then Chadwick Boseman came in about 6 weeks after we started, shot his scenes, and we didn't know anything about his illness at all. He didn't look sick. He was thin, but I thought, you know what? You probably have to be thin to look that cut in, as Black Panther. I thought, okay, that's the secret to, looking good on film. But he did everything we did. We ran up and down terrain. We shot guns. We dove onto, the terrain as well. And he didn't mumble one word. And then the next thing you know, we found out that he was ill.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, and recently, the most recent credit you got is Law and Order.
Yeah. Speaking of Bill Cosby. Yeah. I was a mix of Bill Cosby. My character was a mix of Bill Cosby and R. Kelly. And I allegedly raped 41 women. I'm just saying.
And here I was trying to end the show on something that wasn't like Chadwick Boseman just died.
Yeah, we jumped to that. Yeah. But it was I had never, out of all of my years, I've been here it'll be 34 years now. I've been here that long, and I'm probably the only actor who has never been on any Law and Order ever. And I've auditioned several times. I would get callbacks, but never get on it. Out of the blue, they decided to reboot the old Law and Order and bring it back. And here I get a call out of the blue saying, hey, we want to bring you on the first episode. And how would you like to do that? Loved it. And I didn't have much to say, but I did a lot on the show.
Yeah, we want you to come back as the rapist guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
Norm, thank you so much for coming on the show. We can't
I loved
thank
it.
you enough.
Are you kidding?
Again,
it was great.
We try to have as much fun as possible.
I have to tell the audience that wait, Andrea, 7 times still not on. Oh my God. Well, maybe, you know what? My friend Danny Burstein has done the show 11 times and has played 11 different characters. 11. It was like, can't you tell who that is? Like, come on.
Well,
anyway,
that's a way to make her feel good, Norm.
Yeah, so that means that that means that now I think what we could do is I could go back on as maybe your husband. You know, we could do a scene together, you know.
There you go.
But I just want to tell the audience, we haven't seen each other since 1937, I think. And and
except
it was
for that
so
one
great.
time.
Was that exactly? And it was so great to have you up here in New York. We ran into each other and, you know, and hung out for as long as we could. But I just remember there's fond memories of Rory and I in college and doing shows and just hanging out in this amazing town called Lake City, Florida. But it was great to see this guy. But
man.
And it's great to see you now. And I just, you know, one of the most talented guys in the world. And you got,
hey, Rory, I got a dirty limerick I want to tell you.
Oh. But if you ask him any trivia about James Bond, he will know it. He will know the year. He will know the character. He will know the actor who played the guy, and he will give you lines from each film. So reach out to Roy Penland if you need any.
He's a 007 trivia king.
Yes.
Most people know that about me.
And Pat Gagliano. Oh, Galliano. Sorry.
Pat Galliano.
Pat Galliano. We used to call him Gagliano back in the day. Now he's all professional and he's Italian. So it's Galliano.
Well, again, thank you so much for coming on. Went a little over time because it's you.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. But oh man, so great to talk to you. So great to see you again. Thank you, Renee, for being the glue that holds all this together.
Thank you so much. It was
one of the best 2 questions on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
And next time I'll come on, I'll have my laugh once we get to, you know, we'll start.
Yeah, we didn't get it.
We didn't get it this time.
We didn't get it.
Next time.
We're gonna run a clip on the next show showing that laugh because I know I've seen it on social media. I've seen you do it.
Absolutely.
And that's my fondest memory from the old days. Good night, everybody.